Always
Welcome,
dancing.
everyone, to another episode of Wednesday Night Live. Tonight's show is all about, you guessed it, the war on synthetic nicotine and how our days are numbered when it comes to the FDA having full control of this product. So we're going to do our best to break down this new bill and what it means, not just for the manufacturers, but ourselves as customers. But before we get into all that, let's say hello to our resident rock star, Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim Swift.
Who are we talking about? I didn't know we had one of those on the show. I almost feel like I can't fit into these britches with that kind of an intro. Yeah. I'm doing good, man. I'm just tired lately. It seems like I've been working my tuchus off. So I don't know. I'm running out of steam some days. I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old.
You need to start using that espresso machine of yours more.
Well, I actually had kind of in my head, I'm like, you know what? I really like the little Pixie, the Nespresso machine. I like all the little flavored little cappuccinos and stuff. But, man, it is a taboo machine, especially if you're a coffee drinker like myself. And I know we have people who in the chat that drink coffee. And you could drink like 35 of those fucking things a day because they're these tiny little bullets, man, and they make these tiny little coffees. It's not like, a big 12-ounce, 16-ounce Starbucks. I mean, you're just like, you slam it. And then I kid you not, you could probably clean your house like 14 times over after you get going in the morning.
Well, you got to do what I do is you add the shot to your coffee. So make your regular coffee and add your shot to that coffee. That's what you need to do. It'll tone it down. That sounds like
danger, Will Robinson.
No, I do it all the time. Even when I go to Starbucks, I'll get a regular coffee with a double shot. And
do you?
Yeah. Or even when I order one of those foofy drinks, I'll always order an extra shot because
interesting.
If you get a caramel frappuccino, for instance, you're getting pretty much one shot of espresso in that. So you ask for an extra shot, which cost you, I think it's $1.50. More. Okay. I know now it's an $8 cup of coffee.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, how much does a Starbucks coffee cost these days? $12.50.
No, regular house I think is probably last time. Oh shit, I don't know. Maybe $1.95 to something right there for a coffee.
Oh, you mean like a plain coffee?
Yeah, house coffee with an extra shot. Yeah,
I do. Yes, Bill, you're right. I do look like Granny Clampett. I just need the shotgun and a tablecloth dress, and I'm good to go.
And a dead raccoon. Raccoon. Yeah. What is your recipe for raccoon, Tim?
Seasoning,
a
lot of seasoning. Raccoon's really gamey unless you season it right. Especially the roadkill version.
Roadkill. Yeah. Well, there's not at least with the raccoon over the squirrel, there's a little bit more meat there. You know what I mean? You can actually feed a family with a raccoon.
That's true. You could feed. Yeah, I would have enough for this family of 3. I have to be honest. I've never eaten raccoon before, and I don't plan on it. No. Although I have eaten gator tail before. Has anyone ever had gator tail? Gator tail is awesome.
It's very good. Did you have it in the soup? Or did you?
No. My first, second, and third, and only experiences with gator tail. I think there was one restaurant I actually could order it at in Virginia when I still lived there, and my boss, and not my current boss, my previous boss at the time, is big hunter, huge hunter, and he would go down. A good friend of his. Jeff Lagerbeam, Jeff Lagerman. Now I know. Jeff Lagerman used to be like a lineman for the Carolina Panthers or something like that. And he lived in Florida, and he was also a hunter. So Ed would go down and go hunting with Jeff Lagerman down in Florida, and he would bring back fresh gator tail from Florida. And he would just do like a flour batter mix, whatever, and then deep fry it, and it was so good.
Yeah, it tastes like chicken.
Tastes like chicken.
Tastes like chicken.
Tastes like chicken. That is true.
I've had it in soup, and I've had it deep fried, and it was pretty good. And it didn't have Everyone always says the gamey taste. It didn't have that gamey taste
Not
to it,
gator tail.
but
No,
it
not
was,
gator tail.
yeah. But the way it was deep fried, it was so moist in the middle. I'm sorry, I said the word moist. Everyone out there,
Moist.
it was so moist, but it was really moist, and it was delicious.
Moist. Do some
SMR.
ASMR tonight. Moist.
Tonight's show is all
Yeah.
about the word
Thank
moist.
you. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts. Keep vaping. Thank you for the
We
gifts.
we're gonna do. I swear to God, we're gonna do that type of show once before we end the Wednesday Night Live show. We're gonna do an SMR show, and
An
I think
ASMR show? No, because you know what? I can already see. I can watch the viewer count would go from 15 to 0, like that. There maybe like one person who just secretly is totally into ASMR would actually stay and watch,
yeah,
but
yeah.
everybody else would be like, "Yo, I'm out. Y'all have a good
Yeah,
night."
yeah. Everyone, well, it's one of those where you have to have, because my hearing sucks, even with the good headphones on and turned all the way up. I can't hear a lot of it, so you got to have the caption turned on. So you're banking and hoping that the caption actually uses the right words that you're saying while you're doing the show, which I've noticed doesn't always work out very well.
No, you can't have accuracy when you're fucking whispering all the time. I can't stand those videos. So as soon as they come up on TikTok, it's like it doesn't even last like half a second. As soon as I realize what they're doing, as soon as I see somebody with like something fuzzy and a brush
Yeah,
and the blue Yeti like right in their face, I'm like gone. I'm
gone.
scrolling right
Yeah,
past those fools. Wait a minute, Luke. What do you mean? How am I liking your mod? You talking about you have the same one?
you got
You
it.
have the where am I? Where am I in the camera here?
You're
You
right.
have
You're
the Valerian 3,
there,
sir?
right there, right there.
No, I guess, do you have the Valerian 3, Luke? I didn't know if you had it or not. I tell you what. Now, I know that it's hard to get vaping stuff anymore. I know that it's difficult. Follow up to last week. All I did last week was open it up and show it to everybody. I know there's probably already a handful of people that have it out there.
Yeah.
I started using it this past week, and I gotta say, for a mod, this is the fastest firing mod I have ever owned in my entire life. I mean, there's no here. I don't know if you guys here. Let's do a little ASMR, a little vaping ASMR. I don't know if you guys can even hear that, but like that, it's that fast, and
Yeah.
it's 2 temp already. I mean, it's already, and
Yeah.
I don't have like medium, soft,
Yeah.
heavy, hard. None of that set. I mean, this thing fires on a dime.
Yeah.
And ironically, of course, I will immediately put an RTA on here once these 2 coils are gone. I don't have it with me, unfortunately. It's in the other room. But I'm going to burn through the 2 coils that come in the kit. But these are the biggest effing coils I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean,
Yeah.
they got to be at least a nickel round. Like if you take a nickel out of your pocket, it's at least that round. But this is a great little tank for somebody
Yeah.
who's into sub-ohm vape. Wants a sub-ohm tank vape. The
Right.
Valerian 3 tank is really nice. I love the we've all seen the everybody's had like
Oh, so
the.
so you are using the
I'm
tank.
using what came
Yeah.
with the
Okay.
kit. Like
Yeah.
eventually, I think somewhere you'll be able to buy mod only.
Right. Yeah.
But currently in North America, you can only get the kit version, which comes with the Valerian 3 tank and the mod itself. There you
Yeah.
go. Oh, here people might want to see the like here. I don't know. Let me get my
Yeah.
fucking hand out of the way. Hold on. But like that's the back, and then when you press the fire button, I don't know. You probably will see it. But, you see the
Yeah.
light go up,
See
and
the
then you
light.
get
Yeah.
it's got like
Yeah.
the little. It's got the little lights on it. The nice leather padded outside grip. But yeah, this is and I thought it was going to be a stainless steel tank. The pictures show this one with a stainless steel tank, but it does come with a gloss black Valerian 3 tank with the
Yeah.
bubble glass. I didn't have an option on the glass. I love the fill thing just because it's kind of gimmicky. But
Yeah.
everybody's had the screw off or the slide. You
Yeah.
push on the top. But this one has like the old hood latch on it. Hold on. Wait, hold on.
Right.
So there's a
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
little
Yeah.
button, and you go boom,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it
Like
and it
the
pops it pops open.
Joytech. I think Joytech had that. I think it was Joytech that used to have that little pop up. I like it.
Not sure, but I tell you what, I'm impressed by this mod. I would say it's going to be great for anybody who puts an RTA or an RDA on it, just because it's firing so quickly. That's going to be crucial to
Yeah,
anybody,
yeah.
wanting it to fast. I haven't done temp control on it or anything. It has all that garbage, but at any rate, I have to give it positive marks. So if
Yeah,
anybody's looking for a kit, it's I think a little bit over 100 and
yeah.
something
I think see
bucks.
at 119, I think.
Yeah, but it's a good
119.
deal. It's dual 18650. So sorry, not for the dual 21700
Yeah,
folks.
yeah.
That it ain't going to be there for you. But dual 18650.
I
It's
think
not. It's
that
well made.
21 700 stuff is going to fade out because I think now aren't the electric car companies moving over to that battery from the 18650s? I think they are. So you might start seeing a shortage of that battery here pretty soon if they
Well,
start
that's
eating them
true.
up. If they
That's
start
true.
eating up the 21 700s, you're not you'll see them, but they'll probably be right up in that $12 $15 battery per
Well,
battery.
ultimately, in the end, though, what's the benefit of a 21700 in a mod? You just get longer runtime, more
Yeah,
battery capacity. You're not real. You can still fire an 18650 battery
right.
mod and still get the power that you want out of that battery, amperage wise and voltage wise. It's just not going to last you as
Yeah,
long because the cell's smaller.
right.
So, in
Yeah,
the end, there you go. Luke said, "Yeah, I can only get it online at 129." It's
129. Yeah.
dude, I don't. I
And
haven't
it's
ordered. I haven't
it's
ordered
not a
there.
$65 delivery
Well,
fee.
that's North American
Oh,
crap.
okay. Oh, okay, that's right.
Oh, I can tell you I've had success at this place. I don't know what it's like ordering overseas anymore. I know people still do it, but you can probably find it much cheaper for the kit if you went to like somewhere like Health Cabin or something like that. Now, the only difference there is you're going to wait a while. You
Yeah.
probably won't see it for about a month. So if it's not something you need tomorrow and it's something you can wait on,
Yeah.
you might want to consider just getting it from China and just saving a few bucks. And
Yeah.
the shipping won't be nearly as bad, but they're pretty good.
Yeah. 500 miles. Be careful, brother. It might start leaking over in that direction.
Who's in chat tonight? We got Apathy. What's up, Apathy? Luke. Hey, brother. We were
Yeah.
just chit chatting.
Mr.
Bill
Bill.
Tarling. We got Daniel. Daniel's
Yeah.
the Squonk King. He is now
Yeah.
the official Squonk King. It was Claude. It was Claude Sordelay. Is that his last name? But Claude doesn't vape
Hey,
anymore.
Daniel, look what I'm rocking.
There you go. Curtis, what's up, brother? How you doing, Curtis? I know I saw Megan, thanks for being on the show. New to the show.
Dude.
So, Mallory.
Mallory.
Yeah, Mallory always in the house. Mike Smith, what's up, Mike? How you doing, man? Good to see you here.
Mhm.
Am I missing anybody? I'm scrolling all the way, all the way, all the
Victor.
way. Is it Victor? You have a Victor? I didn't see
Victor.
a Victor.
Yeah, Victor Altec.
Oh, Victor. Oh, hey, what's up, Victor? I
Yeah.
haven't seen Victor in a while. Well, Victor jumps on the Facebook side a lot
Yeah.
of the time, so
Morgan,
we
did you
we
mention?
don't always
Hey,
see him.
Tim, did you mention Morgan?
I did say Morgan. Morgan heard
Okay.
me.
Yeah, good.
I mean, she's, she. I always mention Morgan. As soon as when we're backstage talking before the show, I see
Yeah,
Morgan in there. Morgan and Luke and everybody
yeah.
talking before the show
Morgan
starts.
and Luke an hour early today. An hour early. That
Yeah,
was amazing.
daylight savings isn't until Sunday, folks.
Is it that? Is it really this Sunday?
Yeah, the 13th.
Oh
And we lose an
wow!
hour. Remember,
Yeah,
it's
we
it's
lose. We lose.
spring forward, fall
All
back. So we
back.
spring for we.
That's the only
So
way I
don't get
remember.
wasted on Sunday night and then be all mad at yourself on Monday morning when you lose that hour because
Yeah.
you it like when does it change at like 1 or 2 in the morning or something dumb like that? Not all of a sudden it's 3 or 4.
Yeah. 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 Well, I didn't even realize it was coming up. I was like, okay. Well, let's.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy. It means the beginning of spring, man. That's what it means.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wish it would happen here. It looks like we turn into well. I hate complaining about temperature in California. You can guess it's not low, but it's low for us. I mean, 50, 45 and 50 is extremely cold for us here. That's not normal, especially for this time of the year. Usually, if I go back on some of my old posts, it's usually 70, 75, maybe just kind of touching 80 by now, but 45 at night, sometimes 39. It's cold. My heater's been running nonstop.
Yeah, no, we kind of took a turn for the worse. We last week
Yeah,
we had really warm afternoon weather. It was like 75, 76, 77. I was excited. The trees are starting to bloom.
yeah,
It's like here comes spring. I'm not excited about the pollen that's going to be following soon. But then all of a sudden this week it's decided to rain for like 3 days straight. The temperatures have dropped back down into the 40s and the
yeah,
50s.
yeah,
I'm back in hoodies again.
yeah,
I'm like, this sucks. I want the shit from last week back.
yeah.
What's up, Mowgli?
I hate to bring up old age, but are you, we're both the same age, but have you started to feel things that you thought you would never, your body and come up with certain, like you're talking about pollen. Was that an issue ever before with you, or did you just start getting pollen
As a
issues?
kid, pollen was a factor for me. Like my mom would always like I'd be sneezing in the spring and stuff. And my mom would be like, "It's the ragweed.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
it's all
ragweed.
that ragweed." I don't have the allergies like I used to.
Yeah.
I think my immune system has changed as I've gotten older. So like not allergic to cats anymore, really much.
Well, that's good.
Pollen doesn't affect me. I don't have the allergies like but then there's people that I know that they said that that allergy shit got worse as they got
Yeah,
older.
I
So
never had ever had an issue with it. And my mom's had the same planter right in front of her house with the same plants, probably going on 30 some odd years. Every year it blooms and comes back. And the last 2 years, I cannot walk past that fucking thing. I cannot. As soon as I walk past it, my eyes turn red, my nose starts running. I'm like, what the fuck? Now at 53, I'm going to start getting, allergies, which I've never had before. And all of a sudden, here I got red eyes.
my dad is one. My dad was never really ever allergic to animals and stuff, but then like when he'll come and stay, the
Yeah.
dogs make him sneeze all the time and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I don't get
That's
it.
weird.
Everybody
That's
goes
weird. We're
opposite
breaking
directions.
down, Tim. We're breaking down.
I guess I don't know. I do sense and feel my body have little aches and pains that normally wouldn't be there usually, but that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Hey,
I,
look, I feel sorry for anybody that has a bee allergy because that's scary shit. I mean,
Yeah, but
I've
that's
seen it.
different though. That's
Yeah.
something that you'll have all your life. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking bee stings me. You better rush me to the hospital
Fuck,
because I'm
dude.
gonna I'm gonna inflate like what's her name from fucking Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when she turned into a fucking blueberry and shit. Fuck that.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand for the first time. I was a soccer coach, and one of the kids got stung by a bee out on the field. And of course, with my luck, mom and dad weren't there. So, they had taken off to take the other son to the other game. So he had no parents there. And all of a sudden he gets bit by a bee and he comes up, he goes, Coach, I got to go to the hospital now. I'm like, dude, you got stung by a bee. Give me a break. Go put some dirt on it, rub it off, do what you got to do. And the kid's all, no, Coach, I need to go to the hospital
Yeah, like I'm gonna
now.
die if you don't take me to the hospital, like right now.
Oh man, I was just like, okay, I'd never realized that, because we've all been stung by bees, but I didn't realize that, boy, you could end up being stop breathing, all this stuff. I was like,
Oh, it's
damn.
scary when you see people like have go through stuff a real quick story, and then we'll get back to the
Yeah,
vaping. We're talking about synthetic nicotine, but
yeah,
a buddy of mine from Virginia. This is when I was in a relationship back in Virginia. We went to lunch with him and his wife. He was in the Navy. At any rate, we went to lunch. We went to a sushi restaurant, and you know how like some of the Asian restaurants they bring you edamame. Like some
yeah,
you go to Logan's Steakhouse, you get peanuts and shit. But
yeah,
like here, you got like the free edamame. They just bring it to you steamed in a bowl with salt on it. Anybody knows what edamame is? They're like bean pods, and then you kind of like you break them open, and you eat the little bean on the inside.
yeah,
This was his first time ever eating edamame. So we're sitting there and we're all popping edamame beans and stuff and just having a good time talking. And then as we're talking, he keeps like clearing his throat. Like no, it wasn't dramatic like that.
okay,
But he kept going. Like
well,
he had like something stuck in his throat, and he didn't really realize what was happening. And before you knew it, he like his face started turning red, and he's like looking at us like strangely, like
Yeah.
something bad is happening, and we're like, "What,
Yeah.
Adam? Are you okay, Adam?" And he's like, I don't know. He goes, "I think I'm allergic to the edamame." Like he literally was having like a very bad
Bad.
allergic reaction. He was allergic to the edamame, and he didn't know it because that was his
Yeah.
first time ever trying it. So
Put it on the list.
yeah, thought we were gonna have to cart his ass out. Luckily, he recovered. So
Yeah.
anyway, that
All
was
right.
that.
All right. Before we get into this, I need to say a few words about politics and why it's important to be involved. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're not being heard, and that is the main reason I got involved in politics in local politics at a young age. Being 21 and not just having a vote, but a voice I felt needed to be heard. So step up. I stepped up my game and made sure my vote and my voice meant something. I know, guys. I understand vaping isn't on the top of your list of political importance, with war, gas prices, inflation. Just to mention a few. It's hard to think, with all this that's going on, we need to focus on vaping. But obviously, here lately, our elected officials seems to be their number one issue here, which means we need to up our game and be heard. So make those phone call, guys, send those emails, talk to anyone that'll listen to you on what vaping has done for you in your life. Make a difference and be part of the movement, guys. I mean, it's time to step up, and this is a perfect example of what's going on. And we're going to dig into this bill that's coming up, and it's going to be voted on here real shortly, within days, actually. And I kind of went through the article a little bit, so I got some key talking points, and I'm going to pretend like I'm interviewing Mr. Tim Swift. Tim,
Okay.
does that
Yeah,
sound good to
put
you?
me on the
I'm
put
going
me
to
on the
put you on
clock.
the spot. I'm going to put you
Well,
on the
I have a
spot.
question before we get
Yeah,
into it, right?
yeah,
Because you did kind of bring it up. So, and anybody in the chat can comment back on this. So,
yeah,
it seemed to me that back when this vaping kind of war really started picking up some steam, and we talk about it all the time. We talk about, trying to influence, your local councilmen or your senators, your governors, your city officials.
yeah,
And we say it often. Do you feel like, John, personally, and you make a
yeah,
very good point. There's a lot going on right now. We have gas prices, we have social issues that are going on. There's a lot of pressing things, inflation, war. I mean, we're not involved in the war yet, but it could come to that. There's been some political decisions made that could impact us even further in the inflation that we're experiencing. Do you feel like you were ever a single issue voter? Like, I know vaping is important to you. Do you feel like, because I probably said it
yeah.
back then, like I'm a single issue voter. Like, I'm going to vote for whoever supports vaping
Right,
kind of
right.
response. Do you feel that way still, or are you
I,
more
I,
broad?
yeah, I am not, because I've been doing it for quite some time. But I feel like this community, for obvious reasons that I've been looking around for the last 10 years, a lot of the individuals have no clue. They have no clue on politics. They have no clue who their mayor is, city councilman, let alone a congressman. Pretty much they know who their president is because it's just thrown in their faces.
Right.
So for someone in that situation where they're all new to this politics, I think, yeah, those individuals should be a single voter. You
Single issue
understand what
voter.
Yeah, single issue voter, where someone like me or you or someone that's been a lot older, that's seen how how politics works, we can't, because we are at an age, you and I, where it's important that certain things happen to make sure that we can live another 10 years from now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So for me and you, being at 53, the way I look at a politician, or anyone running for any position, whether it's a congressman, city legislator, mayor, I want to make sure that I'm being taken care of down the road.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a little different. I'm sure you are a little different, but for a majority of the people in this community, they had no clue. They're not into politics. They don't care about politics, but now they're being thrown into it. And I think instead of getting lost in all the other nonsense that's going around, they should focus on this one issue, because it's going to benefit them today and down the road. that make sense?
That does. And do you think
Yeah.
that maybe the proper way to look at it is if you chose to look at yourself as a single issue voter, maybe this is just how I see it.
Yeah.
I feel like you start from the bottom and you work your way up, right? You're probably not going to gain any ground if vaping is the biggest thing that matters to you and you're terrified of losing it. From a federal perspective, that could be the real coup de grace in terms of how we lose it, or we see the landscape of vaping change dramatically if the federal government gets involved and federally bans flavors, or
Yeah.
gets rid of it altogether. Decides to get that could be a major issue. But since the wheels of the federal government tend to turn a little
Yeah.
bit slower, I
Yeah.
feel like one way to influence it inversely is to start going for the lower level guys. Go for your local city officials, your senators, your governors, people who have influence in the government at the top, and as opposed to saying, well, I'm going to go for what I think is the head of the dragon and gun for the president and be like, well, if a candidate jumps up in front of me and says, hey, they're going to support, they don't maybe don't necessarily support vaping as a
Right.
personal choice for themselves, but they go, I think it's the right of the people to
Right.
choose how they want to regulate their harm reduction. I'm not going to ban vaping. Well, yeah, but if that was the only one good thing about them, and then they had like 95
Yeah.
other bad things about them, I wouldn't vote
Yeah.
for that
Right.
person
Right.
specifically. So it makes it harder. I think if you've got somebody who's got 95 things that are more in your favor, more in your court, and then vaping is kind of a flimsy subject with them, maybe then you go for the lower level guy and you go, well, if they're going to bring a bill to the table,
Right.
it's the governors and the senate, it's the senators, the House and the Senate people who are going to really control whether or not that bill even gets to the president's desk, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, or you can even try to persuade him, at least make an attempt to try to change his mind about the issue. Good luck. It's a little difficult, especially when you start and talk about the federal level. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's important that I look not tomorrow, not today or tomorrow, but 5, 10 years down the road. Am I going to be able to survive on retirement? Am I going to be able to, I have to look at those key factors when it comes to picking my political party and who represents me in on the
Sure.
federal level.
But I
Uh,
agree
yeah,
with Luke's statement here, though,
yeah,
too,
yeah,
in that a lot of the times they'll do whatever
yeah,
they'll say
yeah,
whatever they want to get you to give them their vote, and then a lot of the times when after it's all said and done, they don't typically follow through with those particular promises, and
yeah,
that's something
yeah,
that is worth considering when
yeah.
you're talking about a politician.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's a tough one.
And that's when you get together with other groups of individuals and you bring that up when he does get elected and he starts swaying the other way. You throw that in his face. And that's your right that you have. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to your voice. Don't just sit there and go, "Oh well," instead of just saying, "Oh well," find other people that have the same common interest that are in your location, get together and throw that statement back in his face.
Yes.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least you made an effort and you tried to be heard. Lawmakers on Tuesday were racing to put the finishing touches on a long-term spending bill, which includes 14 billion in aid to the Ukraine and additional money for coronavirus pandemic and to keep the government running. Tim, I want to ask you, as a vapor, do you feel that this bill should be part of this bill? Why are they hiding it? Because when the congressman or the whoever reads this, they're looking at that first thing, 14 billion in aid. Who wants to be the guy that says no to this bill when it's going to help the Ukraine, give them 14 billion, it's going to help coronavirus? How do you say no to that?
Well, but this is
Yeah,
the way it is anymore. It's
yeah,
always going to be like this.
yeah,
It's about negotiating and making deals at the bargaining table. And if one particular person wants to put a bill up or a party wants to put a bill up that they want to get passed, it is very commonplace anymore nowadays that they embed 35 other things in it, you know, to get things through. Like, hey, I'll go ahead and agree to the $14 billion, but I want this, ban on flavors to be in that bill as well, because they know, and
Yep.
this is really the crux of it, they know that a lot of those bills on their own won't pass
Yep.
because people are not going to find them to be nearly as important as something else. So if they can just piggyback it with something else and bury it, they're always going to be out of place. It'll always be something that's a fish out of water. It's like, of course, I don't want to deny anybody the
Right.
money that'll help somebody, help a particular country or help research or help funding or whatever the case is. A lot of those, the top level thing is always typically a good thing for a
Yeah.
lot of different people and
Yeah.
a lot of different reasons, but it's ruined by them shoving all this pork in there. And then people want to wonder all the time why, like,
Yeah.
you see it on the news, like, oh, so and such came out and voted against the bill. It was
Right.
the
Right.
Republicans. They voted against the bill to not give funding to the starving people of Ethiopia. It's like, no, they didn't. They aren't saying no on that part.
Yeah.
They're saying no to something that you buried in it, and they don't want that connected.
Right.
So, but this is how they play the game anymore.
Yeah, and that's the problem too. Is a lot of these individuals, these congressmen and congresswomen and senators and stuff, they know that's how the media works. So it's not going to be about, he said no to these flavor ban. It's going to be like Tim's saying. It's going to be he said no to giving 14 billion to helping out the Ukraine and to help out the Corona pandemic. So it's not about the flavors whatsoever. It's never comes up. And as a politician, you don't want to be stuck into that creepy thing they do. I love it now because it's even. I'm sorry, I'm a Republican, but the Republicans are doing it as well, and they're just cutting pieces of interviews and stuff. I'm like, stop it! Give me the whole fuck. I know you own the website, you own everything that's your network. Run the whole fucking interview. Don't give me snippets of the interview to make me hate this person. Give me the whole thing.
Right. Well, you did. It's
Yeah.
context.
Yeah, it's context. Puff bar loophole. That's what it's called, Tim. Did you know that it was called the Puff bar loophole?
Well, right, because
Yeah.
I mean, they really kind of coined the term. They're like, well, we'll just go right to synthetic nicotine, and then that's the loophole in the whole situation because it's not technically a tobacco derived product.
Yeah.
So the nicotine is coming from a different source of manufacturing, and so they got to put a name on it.
Yeah, they
gotta put a
can't
name
put
on
Juul on there because Juul's only 6% now. This has never been a more blatant attempt at let me see. Hold on here. Where is that? There. I'm sorry. My mouse for some reason when I used to click it before, where you just go up a little bit. Now I click it once and it goes like a whole. You know how to fix that? We'll figure it out
Yes,
later.
no, there is a way to fix that. Go in your mouse settings, and there's a thing where you can change how much it scrolls on a
Okay.
click. So,
Okay.
like for example, on Logitech, they do it. Like if
Yeah.
you're on the tactile feed, one click equals like 3 returns. You can
Yeah.
reduce that to like 1 return, so it'll scroll much less. Anyway.
Yeah, It's, here I got it here. There's never been a more blatant attempt at regulation, said Matthew L. Myers, president of Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. So they're making sure that we sound like we're criminals in this statement, and it's coming from
Read that again.
There's never been a more blatant attempt at at regulation, said Matthew L. Myers, president of Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. So they're basically saying that, we're trying to find all these loopholes, and there's never been any other product out there that has been blatantly attempted like this, like synthetic nicotine.
You mean a blatant attempt at finding a loophole in order
Yeah,
to
yeah.
stay on the market?
Right,
So
right.
Well, of course they're going to make
Yeah.
some sensationalist comment, to make everybody think that, like you said, it's an industry full of criminals
Yeah.
that we're trying to find a loophole in the system to get stuff through. Just no different than remember when like synthetic drugs were
Oh,
hitting the streets. Like what? Go ahead. Circumcision? No, Daniel. This is a different show. No, no,
circumvent,
I get where you're
circumvent.
coming, but yeah, but campaign for tobacco-free kids, they're always going to be on the front line of, um, you know, pushing the sensationalist comment and making everybody think that we're basically trying to put vapes into the hands of kids, and so now we figured out how to trick the system with synthetic nicotine to keep the kids addicted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Food and Drug Administration will get new powers to regulate synthetic nicotine found in e-cigarettes. Popular, I love this, popular among teenagers as part of the government spending bill slated to pass in coming days. But let's not forget that this is at the very bottom, and I pulled this myself, but it says here after the article, but let's not forget that teen vaping plunged last year, the second big decline in a row, but there's still this push.
Well, of course, because they can't quit now. They can't recognize numbers and data and science and things like that. They have picked an agenda.
Yep.
They have demonized and stigmatized something so much that if they were to just abandon ship, then none of them would have friggin' jobs, right?
Yep.
Campaign for tobacco-free kids. Like they don't want to go after smoking cigarettes because that's what lines their pockets anyway, right?
Yep.
The people that want that, the tobacco lobbyists and the people who are making millions of dollars off the tobacco industry in general have to have an enemy, right? And
Yep.
so you never hear campaign for tobacco free kids or PAVE or any of those places at all. Never once do you ever see them go out on a 2 week mission to talk about just smoking in general. It's like the kids never
Yeah.
picked up cigarettes before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But ever since vaping showed up, got them addicted to nicotine, and now there's a fear that
Yeah.
they might touch cigarettes.
Yeah.
Before they had it all under control. So, it's a
Empathy.
bunch of
No, this
hooey.
is the deadline is March 11th. On this bill hasn't passed yet. This is
No.
yeah. I think the deadline is March 11th on that bill.
But that's the whole thing, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this is buried in something else.
Yeah.
So they're not really voting specifically on this. They're voting on something else that's pressing.
Yeah. The change will stop bad actors. I like this. The change will stop bad actors attempting to invade the FDA regulation and hook new generations of young people into a lifetime of nicotine addiction.
Well, they're going to say that,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody knows that Juul is sort of the face of evil when it comes to what actually got the kids hooked on it. I mean, they're not talking about smoke or smock. They're not talking about, Crown, UL. They're not
You,
talking about those things. They're talking about Juul, and that's the only thing they really know. And because synthetic nicotine became a thing, they're gonna demonize that as well. They're gonna say it's just as bad because somehow some company is gonna learn how to exploit it, and it's gonna end up being worse than what the previous alternative was.
yeah. Public health groups have been warning that synthetic nicotine e-cigarettes such as Puff Bar have grown in popularity among teens while shrinking FDA oversights. The FDA has the authority to regulate natural tobacco products, but is unclear if that extends to lab-made nicotine.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
bone of contention right
Yep.
now,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Because nicotine was deemed as a tobacco product because it's made from the tobacco. It comes from the
And from the
tobacco
second,
plant. So synthetic nicotine doesn't come from the tobacco plant in that regard. So it is a bit of a loophole just because how are you going to call something a tobacco product when it doesn't come from
Controlled
tobacco?
tobacco. Yep.
Right. So, I mean, that's, they have to go after it. They have to quantify it somehow. And
Yeah.
so, you know, let's put it back under FDA control as well.
They get into other devices too, but they both articles that I pulled. One, of course, being from Bloomberg, and the other one from I think it's CBS. A little bit different article, and I just kind of pulled key paragraphs out of each article, just kind of showing the idea where they're going and how they're selling this to the general public, and how they're making sure that the word kids are in there, the word jewel is in there, puff bars everywhere that you can find, how we're all criminals. And then you basically, I'll put the link to both articles. You have to go all the way down to the bottom to see the positives. The positives of vaping are at the very bottom of these articles, and there may be maybe 3 sentences. That's it. I mean, there's 3 sentences that mention the decline in teen vaping, the decline in teen smoking, and all this other stuff that it has benefited. You know, let me see here. Where was I at? Given that the FDA explicit power to regulate synthetic nicotine will close a dangerous loophole which allowed e-cigarette companies to sell kid-friendly e-cigarette flavors and addictions to our youth, Howard Wimmer, national president and CEO of the American Lung Association, said.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess the bigger question that I have for a lot of this stuff is why, and maybe the answer is obvious. I'm sure Bill can offer some insight to it. But my bigger question is why why does it have to be the extreme?
Yeah.
Meaning, okay, if the risk or the feeling is that kids are getting addicted to nicotine because they're exposed to these puff bars, synthetic or not, or any of these other multitudes of names of disposables that are floating around on the market. Because I caught a couple videos one time, and these people were throwing out names of products I've never even heard of. These disposable that were out, because I don't buy them, so I don't know them. But you never see any middle ground attempted. Like they don't like they'll acknowledge that there is some positives for people who were previously smokers who have put smoking behind them by switching to vaping. And I think we can all collectively agree that yes, more studies need to be done on vaping to find out the long-term effects of it. All the standard stuff. But you never see any of these organizations or people try to come to the bargaining table and find a middle ground, like hey, if we're going to like, I don't want them to go after this, but if they had to pick one thing, they can say, well, if the threat to the kids is that these things that they get their hands on, the things that they gun for, are all these 50 milligram nic salt devices, disposables that are out there, why don't we set a cap on disposables? Why don't we look at trying to regulate that, and at least try? No one suggests things like that. Although I understand from a tobacco harm reduction perspective, there's some of us out there that are going to need 50 milligram to initially make the switch.
Right.
You shouldn't continue with it, but you might need 50 out of the gate.
Yeah.
But the kids aren't doing it because they're. Go ahead.
Do you think the kids even know that they're using the synthetic nicotine?
There's a lot of people, I don't think they know the difference. I see more questions about it, and I bet you 99% of the time they don't even know that it's a synthetic brand of nicotine. It's just because they're really not.
You think they're looking just at the milligrams, Tim?
I think they know the higher it is, the faster of a buzz they can catch, because I don't think that they're even sure, great apple makes the experience that much better, but I don't think they really care about the flavor as much as they do knowing that they can get a buzz off this damn thing.
It's a 50 or 60. It's going to be
right. They just look at how high it is, and then beyond that, they don't care. To them, it's one word: nicotine. They don't care whether it's freebase or synthetic or salt or whatever. It's 50 milligram, bro.
Right.
Fucking just hyperventilate and then vape it 3 times.
Yeah, I don't think they really give a shit what flavor it is. I think you're right. I think a lot of them, you want to puff the shit out of this and get as high as they can. And I think majority of them, if I think personally, if it did had zero flavor in it, but it was still 50, 60 milligrams, they would still buy it. They would still buy that product, whether it had no flavor on it at all.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. If as long as they knew it could give them a head rush and a
Yeah.
buzz, they would. Look at it this way, right? And it's funny because I think about this from time to time
Yeah.
because we were all kids once, right? We all did shit we weren't supposed to do, whether it be
Yeah.
picking up smoking as a teenager. But I remember several times being with my friends and like going and having a sleepover at whoever's house it was, on a Friday night, and we were all 14, 13, 14, 15 years old, and we were sitting in somebody's friggin' room drinking fucking like Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah.
That shit don't taste good. I'm just telling you right now. That it is. It's garbage. It's garbage, cheap ass friggin' wine, basically.
Yeah.
But it got us messed up, and that was the only thing that we cared about. So I agree with you. You could come out with a Mad Dog flavored vape,
Yeah.
and as long as it said 50 milligrams, those kids would still do it because they knew what they were looking for when they picked it up. They weren't.
Yeah.
They didn't care because Mad Dog tasted great.
Yeah. Well, this next one, and Mallory pointed it out, and it bothers me because it just seems like it's like as we get older, do we lose our taste buds? Do we lose the desire yeah, it's what it is.
You
Puke the
do.
rainbow.
Everything comes
Yeah.
up.
I mean, do people out there that actually vote realize that as you get older, it doesn't mean you stop liking, strawberry ice cream. Doesn't mean you stop liking chocolate chip cookies. It doesn't mean that you stop liking chocolate cake. I mean, this statement, it needs to stop. It needs to end. And people need to realize that they're giving up more than they think they are when it comes to this just because it's vaping. Because eventually down the road, we talked about this, they could use this statement for any other product out there. And that's youth are attracted to fruit and candy flavors and are quickly addicted to harmful e-cigarettes, Wimmer says. When do you think, how do we get people to realize that, yeah, we were talking about vaping today, but tomorrow it could be your coffee, it could be your cakes, it could be your ice creams next year. It could be
They will never do that. They
God
will never.
forbid,
They will
forbid.
never deflavor things that your eyes get big when you walk into the grocery store.
Okay, well,
and
how about some congressman says, you know what, the diabetes, children's diabetes is on a rampage in the United States, and we need to do something about it. So we need to start, no more frappuccinos, no more mint and chip ice cream. I mean, I know it's a stretch. But what's stopping some congressman who has a son, who has a daughter that has diabetes or children's diabetes and wants to do something about it? And the same thing applies here. Just because you're 53 years old doesn't mean you don't like mint and chip ice cream anymore.
no, but see, they want to try to detach the whole conceptual idea of what are components of vaping
Yeah.
that allow people to stick with it, right? Because if you gave somebody a flavorless vape
Yeah.
and said this is safer than smoking, you're gonna give up the whole flavor of a cigarette to this flavorless thing.
Yeah.
It will never stick. It will never succeed because somebody's going to be like, well, I got that rich kind of, tobacco-y, woody flavor from smoking. Like it's not the most enjoyable flavor in the world. But if you're going to give me this flavorless thing, that's hella way more boring than at least, the bite that I got off of a menthol cigarette or something like that. But they want to try to attack the flavors thing because if you had to pick vaping and tie it to kids, they're going to say that's the attractant for kids. But in the same breath, it's one of the attractants for adults as well because it's probably the highest thing on the list as to why people pick up vaping and stick with vaping because they were able to find something that tasted way better, was
Yep.
far more enjoyable. And that's one reason why it succeeds.
Yeah.
To take it away and leave you with only something that might taste like a cigarette.
Yeah. Mr.
It,
Q,
it
you're right. I didn't have any. Tim, you didn't either, right? You grew up in that
what?
age where straight vodka, baby. There was no flavors to vodka. We had 7 Up.
No,
We
but I
had,
didn't enjoy vodka either.
yeah,
The whole point, my whole
yeah,
point
yeah,
with that
yeah,
statement was that I mean, there were plenty of vodka nights with my
yeah.
friends, and people would like to tell you, oh, vodka's odorless, tasteless. Bullshit. It
Bullshit.
tastes like dog shit.
Potato
Vodka
vodka.
tastes like like I'm sorry to all the liquor drinkers out there who have the acquired taste buds and shit. It tastes like shit. But
Yeah,
I didn't care
yeah.
because I wanted to get fucked up.
I want to get
That's
fucked
what I
up.
want. I wanted a
Yeah.
buzz. And
You
so
didn't.
I fought through the garbage
Yep.
flavor.
Yep.
But drinking was not something for me that I picked up as an addictive habit either. I
Right.
wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I got to have my 3 shots of
You're
vodka
a
before
social. You
school.
were a social drinker, Tim.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
definitely a more of a social drink.
Yeah.
Like I like during the week at home. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
drink
Yeah.
on the weeknights, but
I only drink during this show. That's a lie.
yeah.
More than a quarter of middle and high school e-cigarette users reported using Puff Bar as their usual brand, according to a survey from Center for Disease Control and Prevention. They made sure that was right in that article.
Say that again.
More than a quarter of middle and high school e-cigarette users reported using Puff Bar as their usual brand, according to the survey from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
But again, we we go back to accessibility,
Yep.
and the whole thing is I mean, and this may not even these may not even be legal puff bars. The kids
Yeah.
are not getting. There may be some kids who are lucky enough to be able to pick that shit up at a convenience store. But the majority of them are not direct sales. They're either coming through people that they know or someone that can acquire them for them, or they've got these inside circles through all these social media apps, where they can buy them, under the table from from someone else. I guarantee you, there's probably 20 kids that go to school every day with their backpack full of friggin' puff bars, and they upcharge the kid and they sell them to people. So, but they're convenient, they're small, they're concealable.
So too, Rose is so too. Yeah, it's
What's
probably
that?
right. I was just reading Rose's statement there.
Oh, Rog's statement,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
more than a quarter, so too.
So
But yeah, I mean, I you know the. Yeah, the kids want that because it's palmable, it's pocketable.
yeah,
They can get away with it.
yeah,
They
yeah.
can't, they're not going to walk around in school with some shit like
No,
this.
God, no.
I mean, already that's huge in your hand to
That's hard
begin
to
with.
hide when you're strip shirts, Tim.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like when you got to get down to your skivvies, it's like, hey, is that your Valerian 3, or are you just happy to see me?
That's my smock V78 right there. Let's see here. The same survey found brands that are traditionally delivering nicotine, such as those sold by Vice, Smock, and Jewel Labs Inc., are also popular among teens, given though people under the age of 21 can purchase them illegally. Likely nearly the whole of the industry, we believe synthetic nicotine is a positive invention that enhances consumers' choices and provides a crucial pathway for cigarette smokers to switch to vaping, said Amanda Wheeler. That's our president of the American Vapor Manufacturer, which is based in Prescott, Arizona, and represents companies that make vaping devices and e-liquids. That was from Amanda, that one. I think I mixed those two in together. Yeah, I did. The first one is sorry. I did mix those two in together. The same surveys found brands. Yeah. So they're saying that it's not just, they're making sure they get all the names out there. Smock and Jewel Labs. I don't know the other one. Is that the one? VUSE. That's the
Views
that's
views.
the which one is that one? God damn it.
Well,
Is
views had the Cigalike.
The Cigalites, right?
Yeah, but I mean, those have always been available.
Yeah.
I mean, you've always been able to go. But isn't that the one that got FDA approval?
That's the one that got approval, right? That's what I
Yeah,
was
but
thinking.
the kids don't want that dumb antiquated shit. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't even come in flavors. It's just a tobacco
Yeah.
flavored thing that is really no benefit to anyone. I mean, the kids are going to want the stuff
Yeah.
that gets them fucked up fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry I mixed up Amanda's statement, but this was at the very bottom of the article. Likely nearly the whole of the industry, we believe synthetic nicotine is a positive invention that enhances consumer choices and provides a crucial pathway for cigarette smokers to switch to vaping, said Amanda Wheeler, president of the American Vapor Manufacturer, which is based in Prescott, Arizona, and represents companies. I mean, that was at the very, very bottom of the article.
Well, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
it works the other way around too. Like when they want to bastardize vaping and say that it's this horrible thing and it caused all these problems, they wait to put at the bottom that it was THC cartridges that were the reason the person was put in the hospital. But they'll start it out with all the same propaganda that attacks the thing that's more readily available or people don't want to recognize as going on and being snuck around in the schools too and stuff like that. So, unfortunately, that's the conflation that goes on. But I agree with. I don't think I didn't. Does Smock have a disposable device? I know that
I
we've
don't
seen
think so. I don't
pictures
think so. But
before of the
it's
confiscated
small
stuff.
enough for them to hide. I think is why it's being lumped in there as one of those devices. And of course, remember, smock is everywhere. So smock is going to be one of those products that they go after. There's basically not one vape shop that you can go in the United States and not find a smock product. So I'm assuming that's why they're on that list. It's just their accessibility is so prevalent. I mean, they're everywhere. Smock is everywhere. George Connolly, president, and this again too at the very bottom, American Vaping Association, and
Greg, not George.
Greg. I'm sorry. Did I say George?
You said George.
Yeah, Greg Connolly, president of the American Vaping Association, a nonprofit advocacy group, said that the change would hurt affect by thousands of small vape shops that offer synthetic nicotine e-liquids to serve their customers. The results, he said, would be an increase in smoking.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two things here, right? He's right on that in the general statement that if you remove it and you leave only one real option left, it is going to be an increase in smoking. And then on the same breath too, if you even if you don't get rid of it and you decide to tax the living shit out of it and not the other, people are going to pick the cheaper of the two options. I mean, especially now with the way inflation is hitting everybody in the pocket. Food is getting more expensive. Luxuries are becoming more expensive. So if you're not going to keep it relative, you're going to force people into a particular corner because they're like, look, I'm on a budget now. I can't afford the vaping. The vaping's way too expensive for me.
We see your text. You're not banned. You don't get banned. You got to really F up on YouTube in comments to get banned, Curtis. So you're good.
No, you're not. You're fine. You're fine, Curtis.
Yeah, and then in recent months, the House Subcommittee on Economics and Consumer Policy and the Attorney General of Northern Carolina launched an investigation involving Puff Bar and other companies using synthetic nicotine, saying the firms were undermining FDA efforts to end youth vaping. That's how they ended the article in both articles. So they had to stick the knife in a little more and then turn it one more time, Tim.
Well, of course. I mean, they've got to say, I didn't put you in timeout, Curtis.
You want to be in timeout,
Curtis? No, Curtis finds his own way to get himself kicked off of the platform. No, but okay, so I'm reading Curtis's comments. He's saying that Smoke did come out with some kind of a pod device or some kind of a disposable. I did not know that. Although, if that's pretty recent and the name's already in their mouth, it wasn't because of that. It had to have been, just because that's one of the things that they see confiscated, right? Percentages.
Yeah.
But that said, I mean, they're going to turn the. I just don't understand. Well, I guess I can understand why they've decided to sort of attack synthetic nicotine as somehow worse than the regular nicotine that can exist out there. It's like they're like equating it to like the synthetic weed and stuff that was hitting the market, the bath salts, all the other synthetic things that were chemically contrived, that were beating other loopholes. And so again, they have to sensationalize it to make the parents who, when you think
Yeah.
about it in the sense of who can influence law now in terms of by using the power of the vote, it's not going to be the kid that is quote unquote addicted to vaping. It's going to be the parents who are old enough to cast a vote, or just the people who are sympathetic to the whole idea that, like, oh, we got to can't let the kids, fall into that downward spiral of being addicted to nicotine and stunting their growth and all this other shit. The sympathizers will come out of the woodwork and be like, oh no, I can't let that happen. Got
Yeah.
to protect the youth. I mean, I don't have kids myself, but I'm not going to allow the our future to be train wrecked. The same kids were the ones eating Tide Pods. The same kids were the ones putting lighter fluid all over themselves and doing TikTok challenges. You know what I mean? They're kids. You know
The
what I mean?
kids.
I'm not saying. I'm
It's
not
the youth.
saying.
The youth of
Yeah.
America.
Well, they're gonna. Some of them are gonna be unusually smart and highly intelligent and well thought and well read, and then there'll be the other group that's trendy and just does what everybody else does. You're always gonna have that diversity.
Yeah. I mean, did you? I'm going to switch it back over this way. Did you ever feel like these companies like Puff Bar and Juul and everyone else that was using that synthetic nicotine was putting it in FDA's face at any point in time? Do you think they were like saying, "Ha ha, we got you"? I don't
No,
remember. I don't remember seeing that. I mean, I see an industry that said, "Okay, we'll do. We're going to go ahead and do it this way. This will take us out of this category." And we're going to continue business, and which is done every day in corporate America wherever you look. But I don't ever remember these companies like making sure they went out of their way to say, fuck you, FDA, we beat you.
no, I don't think anybody was walking around like it was a badge of honor, or like basically a nanny boo boo to the
Yeah.
federal officials. I think you're going to have your two sides of that coin too in that regard, but I do think that there was a lot of people who were like, look, we're here for the smoker. We're
Right.
here to help improve people's lives by continuing to give them something that was able to get them away from cigarettes. And the FDA and the powers that be are involved in a process, or have incorporated a process that's going to really restrict our ability to save people's lives. But there's this stuff out there called synthetic nicotine that technically doesn't fall under the FDA's bracket of tobacco regulation, and we can continue to market and sell our product because we won't be regulated the same way. And so we're going to utilize a tool that is available to us. Now, are there some who, without saying nanny boo boo to the FDA, we're going to try to still stay this $1 million machine,
Yeah.
and we're going to just go the synthetic route and fuck you for a while until you figure out how to
Yeah. Yeah, because
maintain it.
I think honestly, I think the labs had synthetic nicotine for years. I think they've been holding out and waiting for this product to come out in an effort, knowing what was coming. So I don't think synthetic nicotine is some new product that just automatically, just out of the blue, just started invented or just started making in a lab. I think it's been out for a while, and I think they were holding out and waiting for the right opportunity, and they saw the opportunity of what was going on with the industry as far as nicotine and the FDA, and said, here's a product, that is, made in a lab, not derived from a plant or whatever. And I don't think anybody in that industry was just saying, hey, fuck you. We got around we found a loophole, and we're going to, I don't think that was their intentions. I don't think it was their intentions. I think a majority of these people are doing it for the right reasons. I believe that they're trying to help the smoker find a way to quit, and it's working. So yeah, I find it funny how they use that, though. That like they're the bad guys. They're putting in the FDA's face. They're putting it in the congressman's face. It's like, hey, we found a way around your stupid law, and here you go. I don't feel like that
Okay, well
took
then
place.
that raises a question
Yeah.
for me. Do you feel like the introduction of synthetic nicotine was another misstep for the vaping industry? Okay, so when I make
Yeah.
that statement, what I'm trying to say is, and Nick can probably agree, or Mallory can probably agree, because and thank God, Stu, you didn't get addicted to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
You
just
know,
reading that.
glad you're still here with us, and
Yeah.
and bad shit didn't happen. Um, my point is that we go back and we look at how the vaping industry kind of got started, and then it had this swell, and it kind of, and like people got into it for profit, and then everybody started bastardizing components of it, because technically it's supposed to be this thing that helps you quit smoking, but then cloud comps and vape hoodies and all this other shit started happening that kind of like stuck it in people's face all the time. And maybe we didn't take the right steps to ensure that we introduced it to people that have the power to allow us to keep it around, or not, or take it away from us. We could have done it differently, and maybe got to the bargaining table a little bit sooner had we had a little bit more calculated idea about how we were going to preserve it. But
Yeah.
now we went right from, oh shit, you're going to take away all the stuff from us, and the Nick salts and the freebase. Here's our ace card. Here's the synthetic nicotine, 50 milligram, boom, boom, boom. The race
Yeah.
cars to the finish. Do you feel like the introduction of synthetic nicotine could have been presented to officials a little bit differently, or the people that are now trying to hurry to regulate it
Right.
or take it away, that it was again sort of like let's just throw it out there, and then freak everybody out, because they want to make it out to be this other demon that's
Yeah.
shown up.
I think they could have went a different route with it. I think it should have came out a little bit earlier. I think if they would have educated the public on what this product is, and given the not just because it kind of got thrown at the FDA. I'm assuming the FDA knew that this product was out there. I'm not going to pretend they shouldn't pretend like they didn't know it was out there. I'm assuming they knew it was out there. They got their money and their ties involved in all different types of labs and stuff like that, and funding goes into these labs as well. So I'm sure other companies knew that this product was going to be available. So maybe they could have went a different route, maybe educated the public, said, hey, this is a new product. This is not coming from a tobacco plant. This is nicotine that is created in a lab, and explain to people the differences between the two. But as the way things have been going, I don't think it would have mattered. Do you think it would have mattered? I think it's nicotine, and it doesn't matter where it comes from, whether it comes from a lab or if it comes from the plant. It's still going to be nicotine, and it's still going to be this addictive substance that they're always going to throw the kids under the bus, or whatever you want to say, and use them. Let's just say use
Stand
them.
on their backs, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
and
no, but that's my whole point, though.
yeah,
It's like I just feel like there's never any attempt to try to sit down and have a conversation with officials and say, okay, fine, let's
no,
let's talk about it. Okay, if you want to go ahead and generalize the statement that you're fearful of nicotine because it's specifically tied to tobacco in
yeah,
some way, because we can't deny the fact that nicotine is derived from the tobacco plant, which is technically not the most dangerous thing in a cigarette to begin with. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, if the tobacco derived nicotine is a major issue for you because it's tied to the tobacco plant, we have this alternative,
yeah,
and it's called synthetic nicotine.
yeah,
And we can control it this way. Here's the chemical breakdown of it. Here's what it's made up of. Yes, we understand that nicotine is known as a stimulant of some kind, but in the end, compared to this nicotine, and I'm sure there's probably not much difference. Unfortunately, Paul's not here tonight to really kind of like chime in and give
yeah.
us the facts. So I'm going to make some assumptions and
The
just say,
molecule breakdown.
yeah, like if you had to put free base nicotine and synthetic nicotine in a head to head battle. Synthetic nicotine technically is safer than free base nicotine, if that argument could be made. But
Right.
instead, that it never gets that far. It's like, okay, you're gonna take this away. Okay, let me pull out the ace card in my pocket, and
Yeah.
boom, now we got synthetic nicotine. We beat your loophole. It's not federally regulated the same way. It's not a tobacco item. But then you freak everybody out. Oh my God, synthetic nicotine. What does that
Yeah.
really mean?
Yeah.
It's probably this close to being heroin. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who
Yeah.
knows what
Yeah.
people are thinking?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not, technically it's not the only product that's ever gone through this type of transition. I mean, Splenda exists for a reason. I mean, think about it, people. I mean, people were bitching about sugar, and Splenda is designed and made. Nobody went crazy over Splenda. Nobody went into town.
No, but there are those who like
Yeah,
my ex marriage.
yeah,
She was all over me all the time about how dangerous Splenda was because she would
yeah,
read some articles that would
right,
say that that Splenda is not good for you, and it's been known to cause issues with people over
right.
time. And I'm like, come on, man.
Come on, it's Splenda, man.
I mean, we're talking about. I'm not putting 35 packets of Splenda in my coffee. I'm
Exactly.
putting one. One is going in my coffee. Even
Yeah,
if I had 10 cups a day,
yeah,
I'm not abusing
right.
the thing. Do you
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
yeah,
again, there's relevance here,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, there's ways to abuse anything. You can take anything to excess.
Right. And Curtis, you're right. I mean, that's the sad part. The smoking part doesn't come up in these conversations. It never comes up in the conversation. There's never an article where you read that's anti-vaping that brings up the fact that hundreds of thousands of people die every year to cancer due to cigarettes. You don't
Right.
see that in articles, and it just blows me away that simple fact right there is never used in an article or when a congressman is talking about vaping or a senator or a president, whoever, your local city councilman talking about flavors, never brings up the fact that thousands of people die every year smoking. It's just sad that statement never comes up in conversation or
No,
in
and
articles.
they don't want to talk
Right,
about the obvious either,
right,
right?
right,
So I mean,
right.
take the conflation out of it and the Valley
Yeah,
scare and all that stuff and the people that passed away, unfortunately, to that whole component of it. But they don't even want to talk about the fact. All that they'll say, well, there's not much. We don't know everything we need to know about vaping. It hasn't been around long enough. But you also never hear the comment or the statement that not one person they cannot find one person that specifically died
yeah,
from vaping. But they'll talk about the whataboutism. They'll
yeah,
say, okay, well, we just don't know enough about it. We don't know what's going to happen to that person in the next 30 to 40 to 50 years, like, because smoking's been around X
yeah,
amount of time, and now we found out the effects of smoking after decades.
yeah,
Vaping's been around a couple decades. You're right, nobody's died yet, but who's to say we aren't going to have a bunch of people croaking because they were vaping for 20 or 30 years? I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
it's unfortunate. They don't want to talk about that because they like to hold on to the, well, we if we
right,
stop it now, if we
yeah,
if we
yeah.
stop it now, we're going to save those lives
Yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah. And the other simple fact, and we talked about it before, that's never brought up in any of these articles when you're talking about vaping, is the ability for the vapor to transition and step down during his process of trying to quit smoking. That's never brought up in any article. They never talk about the vapor starting at, like me and Tim, 18, 19, 20, and working our way down to 3, and sometimes some of us to 0. That never comes up, and they never talk about that harm reduction part of vaping, which is crucial because a lot of us do follow that process and work our way down.
Well, of course. I
Yeah,
mean, that's really sort of, I mean, if you really had to say how does vaping help the smoker quit? Well, it's based on that process. It's
right.
come in with a higher level nic milligram level, and then slowly but surely wean yourself off of it by using something that is far less harmful than smoking,
Right.
right? So no one ever wants, I mean, that meaning the ants
Yeah.
and the politicians, they never want to look at it from the realistic perspective.
Right.
They just want to make it all about, well, someone's going to pick up one of these high milligram devices, and then all of a sudden someone who was never addicted to
Yeah.
nicotine is now all of a sudden going to be addicted to nicotine. And then here comes the gateway theory and
Yeah.
all this boogeyman bullshit that they love to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Went from hitting that puff bar twice to a 2-pack a day smoker within 1 month. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, or yeah, I mean, you know, or they turn the puff bar, and they forget to even address the fact that most of the kids that probably try the puff bars,
Yeah.
they try it a couple times and then they never touch the fucking thing
Never
again.
touched it again. They're
Like
this
like
is
they're
not for
they're
me.
they're not addicted. And then if you look at the overall percentage of kids who actually really maybe got addicted to vaping, that percentage is far probably much less than the overall number that they like to
Right.
tout.
Right.
The 30% of high
Yeah.
school students have tried vaping. Tried that's a very loose term.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I put the links to both of those articles
Oops.
in the chat. I don't know if YouTube actually shows those links, guys. So I don't know how that works, because sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't. So let me. Did it go through, Tim? Do you see
I
it?
saw one of them come up. Yeah,
Okay, so
earlier.
yeah, because sometimes I don't know what it is with links. Sometimes YouTube won't let us share a link to another site. So I
It's
hope.
there. I see it posted.
Okay.
I have not scrolled all the way up in the
Okay.
chat
Yeah.
on.
But both of those links to both of those two articles, and one's
Oh,
the
they're
Bloom.
there. I see them. They're
Yeah,
there.
one I think is the Bloomberg. It's actually Bloomberg's article. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're both in there if you want to go ahead and yeah, it is Bloomberg. Yeah, Bloomberg, whatever. Bloomberg.com news article. So
Yeah.
of course it's from his page. But yeah, I mean, that's a thing. I mean, how do you how do you think you go about explaining to people that there is a way to wean out? And I think if we can get people to see that and understand that, we're not coming in at 50 and staying at 50. Most of us are coming in, well, 50 seems to be the new norm for everybody, but most of us started with 18, 24 and worked our way down. Do you think we need to start doing that ourselves, explaining to people that there is a way to transition away from the nicotine here? We're not just here because we're addicted to nicotine and we're going to stick with it, but we are trying to get ourselves weaned off of nicotine. A majority of us, I want to believe that a majority of us vapors are actually trying to wean ourselves off of it.
I certainly think that there's a large contingent of vapors who go into it knowing that their end goal is to eventually get off of it. I do think that there are some of us who recognize the actual danger or lack of danger there is in vaping. That if we as long as we're vaping a nick level that's substantially lower than a cigarette could ever even compare to, that we understand that we're not doing as much harm to our bodies at that stage in the game, even if we're at 3 or something like that. I think where we struggle with it, because I would like to think that, and I've gotten these opportunities a handful of times, and they're always good, because the conversations that I do have about vaping usually are with people who don't know anything about vaping.
Yeah.
They don't know the first thing. They just kind of see things in the paper, or they read or hear things, and then that gives me a great platform to talk to them coming from a place of experience and say, let me just start and explain the process with you. Let me explain what's involved. Let me give you some by way of comparison and realistic relationships to smoking, and why I use it and what it helped me to do and how I feel. I can tell you from my own personal experience. I'm standing here in front of you, and I can tell you that I feel a billion times better. So it's good to have those conversations. But even with my friends, even with people that I consider very close to me who don't vape, don't smoke, have kids, whatever, and I try to have these same conversations with them, and it's very difficult for them in the position that they're at to get them to kind of come off of well, I mean, you can't sit here and tell me that you know, that because that shit tastes like cotton fucking candy, that
Yeah.
kids aren't going to be interested in shit like that. And I go, well, okay, you have a point. You
Yeah.
do have a point, but you have to also be realistic in that same argument and say that, you know, adults like flavors too. Like
Right.
if I have an option to vape something that tastes like ass, and I have the option of vaping something that tastes good, that I
Yeah.
like naturally anyway, whether
Yeah.
it's in a soft drink or
Right.
a food or
Right.
a treat of some
Yeah.
kind, I'm going to flock to the thing that I know tastes better because I think I'll enjoy that much more. So
Right.
you can make the argument about what attracts a kid, but you also have to consider the fact that you like going and getting your fucking blueberry cheesecake ice cream. What do you want? Do you want there only to be vanilla?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
it? And
Yeah.
just because you like ice cream, you
Yeah.
know?
You don't go into a restaurant and say, "Give me your blandest steak," or "Give me your flavorless lasagna." We
Well,
don't do that.
right. No, I mean, and that's the thing is it's a very difficult conversation to have because there will always be someone who's attached to the thought of kids being
Well,
involved in this whole mess.
there it goes.
What
We
happened?
lost. It somehow went off for a second, but it's back on. It's
Okay,
back.
I saw you jump, and I'm like, what happened to him? It looked like you
Yeah,
shapeshifted
yeah.
or some
It was
shit.
weird.
No,
He ain't,
you're
he ain't
never going to
the
be able to separate everybody from the whole idea that
right.
something that kids shouldn't be touching, they're attracted to wanting to touch it because of this factor or that factor. But here's the reality too. It's now been sensationalized. It's been turned into a taboo. And what's going to attract a kid to something more than just a flavor alone? It's going to be the fact that I'm not supposed to have that.
Right.
So now I want that.
I'm going to switch to my Wi-Fi here, Tim. I'm having issues on my end.
Why were you not on Wi-Fi?
I was on hardwire, and for some reason the hardwire has been issues. So I switched to 3G or 5G. And I just hopefully
It's actually worse now. I think we're gonna lose John. So everybody's gonna be stuck with me for the next
oh
45 minutes.
there you go. Now I'm back. Is it can get out?
It's just your squelchy and the VoIP is not as strong. So I don't know
Okay, let
what's
me.
wrong with your hardwired line. I'm actually on Wi-Fi here.
I'm hard. Yeah, I switched back. I know something's going on. So if I get if I get cut out, everybody knows why. So I don't know. I had the fastest freaking internet you can get for your house. This is what I get.
Well, latency you can't defeat. If
I can't.
everyone knows the rule about internet, right? You're only as fast as your slowest link. So even if you
That's
got the best shit at home and
yeah,
your internet's screwed up on a server somewhere between
yeah,
your on your hops, you're going to be compromised.
yeah. Well, I have a pretty fucking awesome computer. So, all right, that's not my slowest link.
No, your
I'm sure.
slowest link will be outside your house somewhere.
That's true.
It's what
That's
allowing
true.
you to get from your house to this feed.
Yeah, yeah. I'm good. I think we'll be okay. Yeah, I mean, and no one ever talks about the kids smoking cigarettes. They're not smoking flavored cigarettes. They taste like shit, and they're still smoking cigarettes. So it's yeah, yeah. No, I do not have that. Those. I'm sorry.
Mine is a Nighthawk with the newer one, the R1000 or whatever
Sign
the fuck.
off. I'm going to sign off and come back. It's you. It's you for
It's
30
my
seconds.
show. It's my show. All right, good. Let's get
Yeah.
rid of John. We don't need him
Yeah.
anyway, right? All right, go ahead and restart your router. No, but I don't know. There's a lot to be said about the whole conversation about vaping and the stigma that are out there. And so, I mean, it's interesting to me because, I mean, does anybody here in the chat, do you get to have those open conversations with people at times? It happens with me randomly all the time. And you know where it or strangely comes up is when I talk about the fact that, you know, I'm part of a panel on a vape show, and they're like, well, vaping, like, what do you do that for? And I'm like, well, because it's a component of advocacy for me, because I feel like I found something that helped to save my life. And so I want to preserve it, and I want it to still be available to others to experience what I experienced. And then they're like, well, I don't know anything about vaping. And then that usually opens the door for me to be able to have a conversation. I don't go into the whole ants thing. I'll probably say more or less most of the time that it has something to do with the fact that, there's a lot of, misinformation and misdirection about vaping and what purpose it serves. And of course, no vapor will ever say that we want the kids vaping. We certainly don't endorse any of that. So don't think that, we're just flippant, like we don't give a damn, and that the kids are vaping at all. But yeah, I mean, it's good, even if you get that slight opportunity or that little chance to talk to somebody about it. And not everyone is going to see your point of view. But it starts with having those conversations, because if you can pass that information on to someone close to you, say it's somebody who doesn't know anything about vaping, and they take that information and they're just living their normal everyday life, and then a parent, somebody they know, happens to talk to them about it, they can say, well, I got this guy at the office, and he's a vapor, and he really educated me on the whole idea of about vaping and what it's all about, and what some of the risks and what some of the dangers truly are, and how they think and how they feel. And you hope that it's, a little bit of a telephone operator concept, that it's information, that they more well-informed information that they can transfer to others who might just have a one-sided view on the subject. Might only see it from a myopic perspective, just shit that they see on Facebook or the stuff that they see on the news that we already know is sensationalized. So Mallory, you were saying you advocate. Let me pull a comment. It says, I advocate the way I do because it's one of the few ways you can advocate. And that's true. I think that here comes John with his faster internet connection. Hold on. There he is. He's back. But you're quiet. We can't hear you. You might be muted. You might have to switch your mic up. Yeah, but Mallory, to your point, I think that we all have to try to pick one way or some way of advocating without just throwing in the towel and being done with the whole idea. It's like it's hard. It's exhausting. It feels like you're fighting a losing battle constantly all the time, because as much as you feel like, there you go, I can hear you clapping.
All right, good.
You're back.
I switched browsers.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no. So to that end, what I'm saying though is that maybe some of our ability or our chance to keep vaping in good graces is to be able to have. You're right, Bob.
Yeah.
Orthodontists use strawberry flavored nitrous oxide. They do, right? Because everybody likes to get
Kids
numbed
like
up.
it. Kids like
gotta
it.
gotta go to sleep to strawberry. But that said, I'm just saying is that I think we all have to find one way to spread the message. And if and even if we don't make a lot of headway with politicians and stuff like that, people also need to understand that people who do vape are, even in the face of darkness and doom and gloom, we're going to continue to try to vape. Right. And I don't want anyone to think that I'm some criminal because of that, because I'm not. Do you understand that if this is gone, basically I have one option.
Yeah.
And that's just not do anything, period, anymore, because I don't want to go back to smoking.
Right. I mean, people need to understand that we're making a health choice for ourselves. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting that are out there, that they don't realize that this is a choice that I've made. And I have done the research, and this is better for me. I feel better. I look better. I feel younger. I feel stronger. I'm not out of breath. This is a decision that I made for my own health. And I think people need to understand that. But I wanted to talk about one thing, and I think it's crucially important. And that is the fact that you need to realize who votes, guys. You need to look at who shows up to the polls and who these congressmen and senators listen to. And that age group is that 50 to 60. So I think that when you are out there and you have an opportunity to discuss vaping and how it's benefited you, focus on those individuals in that age group, because those are the ones that are killing us right now. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I mean, do you feel that same way? I mean, when you look at the polls and you
Yeah.
look at the people that are actually showing up to the polls, whether it is a local issue or whether it's a federal, state, that is the age group that shows up to the polls, guys. And that is your group, that your 50s to your 65. And those are the people that are going to make decisions for us. So when you do have an opportunity to speak with someone in that age group, break it down for them, explain to them there is a way to cut back, to explain what an an open system is. Because right now, like you said, everybody says they don't know what an open system is. They know Juul, they know Pump Bar, they know these names and these names only. So if you have an opportunity to talk to someone in that age group, slow down, break it down for them, explain to them how it's worked, how it works for you, and don't just brush them off because it's just an older person, because that older person is deciding your future. If you haven't realized it, you can go check it out yourself, guys. It's a simple Google search. Type in Google and age groups, and you'll see who shows up to the polls, guys. And that's that group right there.
Right. Well, but it's stuff like this. So
Yeah,
Richards, this is all news to me.
yeah.
This show was predicated on the idea that this was going to be put in front of people for a vote, and that the vaping
Ooh, did
component
it?
was buried in this pork thing. Now, to my knowledge, this was not about banning vaping. This was
Right.
about
Yeah,
regulating synthetic nicotine
yeah.
and allowing that to be put under the FDA's regulation controls, because it's not technically a tobacco product. So if this is brand new news, and the House did vote on this, or they did pass the spending bill with regard to that component and the synthetic nicotine, does not mean that it's a full ban on vaping. It was just that synthetic nicotine needed to be regulated, because that was a loophole that the vaping companies were using to keep products on the shelf, like Puff Bar. Literally almost every company that's making e-liquid now switched to synthetic nicotine. So there you go. House passes 1.5 trillion spending bill with 14 billion for Ukraine aid, and now of course that's going to be the mule right there. That's
That,
what was
that
carrying all of this.
that was what was swaying their vote, because no one's going to say no. No one's going to say to no to that. And whether they had a good cause for any other thing that may be hidden in this bill, there is no way anyone was going to say no to this and be put on the spotlight
Well,
for
no,
say.
but I think that this is ultra important, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think this is I think the fact that that you have lives on the line right now. You've got people in a
yeah.
country suffering at the hands of this evil person, and no one's going to balk and really care about the bullshit that's buried in it.
Yeah,
Thank goodness.
I'm trying to see if they even mention it in this article whatsoever about synthetic nicotine. What do you think? Before I keep scrolling, do you think it's even mentioned as one of the key
It may be
components?
a blurb. It may be a blurb, but I just think that it's not that big of a deal on
Yeah,
everyone's radar in
right,
terms of
right.
the grander scheme of things that are going on in the world. But again, to Richard's comment, that no, the only thing that we are aware of as part of the bill was the fact that they were racing to try to regulate synthetic nicotine,
There it is.
because yeah, there you go. So, among other provisions are the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which expired in 1994 and provided funds to help prosecute violent crimes against women, a measure to give the Food and Drug Administration regulatory authority over synthetic nicotine, and then cybersecurity protection. So, these were all, for
Yeah,
them, all sort of
yeah,
like, blink and miss it kind of
yep.
bullshit. You know what I mean? I didn't expect them to throw this bill out because of synthetic nicotine. It
Yeah,
just allows them to go, "Phew, we won. Now we
we
can
got that.
regulate synthetic nicotine. Now we can push it and make it fall under all the other same regulations." Because really, what's the crux of it, right? things that were made with synthetic nicotine did not have to go through the PMTA
Right.
process, right? Those things could still be manufactured and made and fall outside of that regulatory requirement. So, yeah,
Yep.
you know, now
14
now
total words. Yep.
right,
14 total words.
but it could mean, to Richard's point, it could also mean that now that it's regulated, they could have significantly more power
Right.
over it and they could order it off the shelves because it's
Right.
viewed as an illegal product and it doesn't have FDA authorization and it didn't fall under the PMTA process.
Right.
Therefore, the only things valid are the items that do
Right.
have PMTAs.
Right. Do you see these companies going out of their way to start filing, or can they? Well, can they
Well,
even?
here's what
Do
I
they,
think will happen. Here's what I think will certainly happen first. Now, granted, this bill has been passed and it's going to have to go to the president's desk to get signed into law. You will see major components of this bill be pressed legally, meaning
right.
lawyers are going to come
Yep.
out and stand up and say, we're going to fight this. We want an injunction against the regulation of synthetic nicotine. And so you'll probably see
Right.
some delays on certain components. Can they reverse what's happened? No, but they can
Yep.
put these in front of judges and go to litigation over it and say that this stuff was, this stuff was unfairly,
Yeah.
judged, the
Well, yeah, because the
ruled against.
PMTA process is closed. So I'm just wondering, they're trying to be sneaky here, and this is a good way for them to just eliminate synthetic nicotine.
Well, of course, John's having internet issues again. But I certainly think that this is one way of being able to try to shut down something that they had fear was running
Well,
rampant.
yeah, I can see them saying,
It's California, buddy. California is the devil. No, I just think that ultimately, they want to do everything they can. So, what's the next loophole going to be? What's the next little way they're going to way that the vaping industry will find to stay alive in throughout all of this stuff that's going on? I mean, I can't think of a fourth way to come up with nicotine at this point. But there's a possibility that there could be some other loophole that they didn't notice. They listen to us. They listen. They have people with eyes on our industry and watch what's going on, and we're vocal about it. You know what I mean? Like we talk about, oh, this is where we're going to go now. This is the thing that we're going to do next to try to make sure that it stays on the shelves and it stays in the hands of vapors and that we can continue to vape. But I don't know. I think this will all be challenged. I think you're going to see some lawsuits and probably get it delayed a little bit. I don't know that this ends the ability for synthetic nicotine to stay on the shelf either. And the reason why I say that is because you have to then enforce it, right? So all this does is just pass off the ability for the FDA to regulate synthetic nicotine. So now some other decisions are going to have to be made. They're going to have to come up with something else to say, okay, this is how we're going to approach it, and we're going to regulate it moving forward. So, there's still a bunch of other stuff that has to happen before we see the end to those products being on the shelves. I mean, the FDA, they can make all the laws they want, but you got to enforce those laws. Who's going to enforce it? What are they going to do? Send federal police out to every vape shop in America and and forcefully have these things removed from the shelves? Things will hang around for a while yet. I don't know what we might want to do with John having all these issues is at some point, we're 20 minutes before the top of the hour. So we might want to get into the news. Unfortunately, I don't have my, John can control all the plugs and the cutscenes. I don't have access to that. I can start and end the show. I can do all that fun stuff. So I tell you what, in lieu of John having all of his internet issues, we can go ahead and start the news segment and talk about that, and that can help carry us for like the next 15 to 20 minutes because that's about all the time we have left. So let's talk about that. So let me hear. This will be fun. Just me and you in the news, and I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sing anything or come up with some fancy music. So let me pull up the news. All right. So I got 3 articles for you tonight and some advocacy, a couple tiny articles. Wait, why there? Okay, let's talk about this thing. All right, share screen, and we'll talk about this. All right, everybody can. I'm going to be real tiny now. All right, so I don't know if anybody knows about this. This actually happened in February, but this is. Hold on, let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Oh, I'm already at 175. I'm pretty sure everybody can see that. So, as it stands, the FDA has not had a proper head of the FDA for over a year. They've had some interim people that have stepped in. Mitch Zeller apparently is retiring. He was the one that was actually. I think some of us kind of felt like we might have some hope with Mitch Zeller because he had. Yes, DJ. To DJ's comment, real quick, we'll address that real quick, DJ. So they're hopefully going to. Hopefully, I say I don't want it to be hopefully. Who knows how quickly they'll start creating policy around the regulation of synthetic nicotine. All we know is that this relief bill that was just passed included synthetic nicotine to fall under the FDA's regulation. So it basically gives them oversight of synthetic nicotine as much as all the other stuff. So there's really not much information to offer in terms of how they plan on going about doing it. It's just that now it falls under their control. So hope that answers the question for now. I didn't think we'd be able to stop that anyway. But anyway, so Mitch Zeller is retiring. There's an interim an interim chief of the FDA right now. But as of February 15th, the Senate did finally confirm Dr. Robert Califf as the FDA commissioner by a pretty slim margin. It was a 50 to 46 vote overall. He did receive quite a bit of opposition against him. I'll go into some other details about because he's already been the FDA commissioner before. This is his second turn. But we need to talk about who this guy is and what he means to us in terms of whether or not he is anybody that's going to be on our side or someone that will have an open mind about. Here comes John again. John's back.
I'm back, Jack.
All right. Okay. So we just decided to start the news because we got about 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
So there's still some questions out there about the synthetic thing. We'll get back to those. But he did have quite a bit of opposition. This is not his first rodeo as being the head of the FDA. He actually was around in Obama's cabinet as well.
Yep.
So just to kind of wrap, put this in a nice little nutshell, this guy, when he was actually nominated originally, they kind of basically said this guy is going to pass with flying colors. Like, because he was there before, he was definitely going to be a shoo-in. They were going to confirm this guy pretty quickly. He was going to get, a real positive endorsement.
Right.
But there was a lot of people that had some significant opposition to this guy for several reasons. Primarily over his handling of the opioid crisis. Had nothing to do with tobacco and the deeming rule and all that other stuff, but in fact, they were more critical of his handling of the opioid epidemic that took over. And apparently, and I don't know the specifics of his ties, but he has some ties to the drug manufacturers, the companies that manufacture the opioids, and there was a component about anti-abortionist oppositions. I guess, as I read on in this article, he had something to do with the approval of anti-abortion pills and things like that. So I guess they call it the next day pill or something like that. I'm not really sure. I'm familiar with the details on that because I'm more involved in vaping than I am with that stuff. Overall, he's known as being pretty antagonistic towards vaping as a consumer product. He's not really for it. I guess, he with doctor on the front of his name, maybe he's got a bit of a dog in the fight. But just know that he was in charge of the FDA in 2016 when the FDA rolled out the deeming rule, which gave the FDA authority. There you go, the morning after pill. You're right. No, I knew it was called something like that. Which gave the FDA authority over vaping as a tobacco product. So he, ironically, was in charge of the FDA at that time. But if anybody will recall, there was a lawsuit going through the Supreme Court that levied that the deeming rule was not legal because he didn't actually sign off on it. It was the co-person or the person that was sort of like his understudy, not the official head of the FDA.
Right.
So some of his first tasks going in as the head of the FDA will be working with the HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra and finding a replacement for retiring Mitch Zeller. Caliph will be tasked with solving the FDA's vaping regulation debacle. So what they mean by debacle. So what they're talking about are all the PMTA process, and the fact that the FDA basically issued thousands of MDO market denial orders to tons of companies. Basically, like what was it, like 6 million submissions, but they issued MDOs to companies that basically wiped out like more than 3/4 of that with MDOs. So they do have a bit of a mess right now. A lot of those companies are standing on litigation right now, saying that basically that whole MDO process was unfair because they incorporated in standards or rules within that MDO issuance for something that wasn't there when they were told this is what they had to do in order to get the approvals that they were looking for. So a lot of people got their PMTAs reinstated and were able to successfully defeat the MDO for now because of the FDA's mishandling of the PMTA process in general. And I mentioned that. I said, as well, as we all know, MDOs were issued to hundreds of companies who filed PMTA applications only to be rejected on the grounds of an FDA policy addition after the PMTAs were submitted. Over 30 companies have challenged these rulings to date in order to reverse their MDOs, and several have actually been pretty successful in getting their MDOs reversed and getting their PMTAs reinstated. The FDA has only authorized one single product, the Vuse product, which is an antiquated cig-alike device. I did mention that the FDA has been without an official commissioner for more than a year, and Caliph was nominated by Biden in November of 2021. He was the FDA commissioner during Obama's final year in office, and he ironically faced heavy Democratic opposition with his handling of the opioid crisis and his connections to the drug industry. In January and February, the White House and special interest groups who supported him as a nominee made a heavy push to save his nomination. He also made promises. Well, this shocker. He made several promises to several senators to secure their votes. Yeah. So this is how politics works, right? It's like, if you want me to vote for you, I need you to do this for me, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah.
So he's promised some senators some shit. So even if he had a little sparkle in his eye and a gleam of hope for vaping to save a bunch of smokers, there's a senator over there that said, if you want me to vote yay, I want you to ban this. Ban flavors. Get rid of open systems on the market because of the kids, and that's my platform, and that's what I stand on. So he's probably promised some people he would vote a particular way, that he would do something for them to get them to vote a particular way. But I thought I'd talk about who voted against him, because there were some Democrats that didn't vote party line on this. They basically don't want this guy. But it doesn't have necessarily everything to do with vaping. But this also shines some light on people who may have been openly verbal about vaping and their stance on it and what they don't like about it. but they found other components about this guy to say no. So some of the names that of Democrats that voted against him were Blumenthal. Everybody kind of knows who the Crypt Keeper Blumenthal is.
Yeah,
He didn't.
yeah.
He voted no. Hassan voted no. Joe Manchin voted no. He's kind of been like the only person that's like voted no for a lot of the right reasons. Markey, I don't know that person very well, but of all people, Bernie Sanders voted no on this guy. Bernie Sanders did not want this guy. So I'm going to guess Bernie is probably voting no because of not vaping. I don't think I've ever heard Bernie talk about vaping
I
at
don't
all.
think so. No.
No, I don't think that's on his radar. I think this has something to do with other things. And then conversely, there were 6 Republicans that crossed party lines and voted yes for this guy. And so I'll read you those names. Those names are Blunt. I don't know who Blunt is. Burr. That name is familiar to me. Collins.
He was just in the other article that we were reading. Yeah.
Collins. She's always up there. She's the one that kind of like has the kind of rickety speech and stuff. I forget her first name now. Murkowski. She voted yes for this guy. Of all people to vote yes, who shocker, Romney. Romney voted yes for this guy because he don't like vaping. Remember, he was in Trump's court.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was in Trump's ear about how bad vaping is. And Toomey. I don't know who Toomey is. But at any rate, just by way of comparison, so this guy snuck in on a 50 to 46 vote. That was 50 yeses, 46 noes. When he got nominated back in 2016, he got voted in 89 to 4.
Right. Yeah, he was a shoo-in back then.
He was a landslide back then. And shocker, Califf's nomination was heavily supported by anti-vaping and tobacco control organizations, including, of all people, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids.
Yep.
They are hoping this commissioner will ban flavored vaping as well as menthol cigarettes. So, they're going to get in this guy's ear. So my takeaway from this was I thought that maybe it'd be nice just for everybody to be a little educated on exactly who this guy is, where he stands on the whole vaping thing. I don't know that was really uncovered. I just know that he's not a big fan, but he could be someone that it doesn't bode well for us. I would say if you can send your messaging off to this guy, try to get messaging through to this guy. Tell your story to this guy. Try to at least persuade him to understand that there are a large number of people in the United States that use vaping to quit smoking, and it's helpful to them, and you have a great story to tell. I don't know that he'll listen. I'm just saying you might want to go after this guy a little bit too. Don't sleep on him, because if no one puts any pressure on him, then we're not going to get anywhere with him. So that's your new FDA commissioner, Robert Califf, and he just got confirmed on February 15th. And so now he will be regulating your synthetic nicotine, folks. Hey, Willie, nice to see you here, brother. Thanks. Okay, so let's move on to the next article. Okay, I got 2 little tiny ones. Does anybody have any European friends, Scandinavian friends specifically? If you do, and I hope they're paying attention, Sweden now wants to prohibit flavored vapes.
No, not Sweden.
But Sweden is a public
capital of the world. The chocolate capital of the world.
Yeah, and the Swedes are cool people, man. They're cool people, and they don't bother nobody. So I don't know. So this is a very tiny article. I'm just going to give you basically the cliff notes on this one. The Swedish government has proposed a ban on non-tobacco flavored vapes, including menthol. The proposed law includes nicotine and non-nicotine e-liquid and regulates all synthetic nicotine products and setting the purchasing age to 18. I didn't know what the age was, legality for smoking or vaping in that country to begin with. So it would seem that it was younger before. Yeah. But now it's been set to 18. They say that if this law passes, vape products will be banned effective come January 1st, 2023. The bill is currently being reviewed by the Council of Legislation. If it gets beyond them, the Parliament will vote on the bill as early as March 22nd, which is just a measly 13 days from now. if it passes, and I didn't know this, here's some information to understand. Green Thumb, dude, I'm with you on that as well. I think a lot of us feel a little hopeless and helpless when we want to send messaging off to those people. But here's my take on that. Yes, I do feel like I'm pissing in the wind. But B, if I don't do it
Right.
and I did nothing, then I didn't try, and I can't have conversation with anybody. So anybody who is an advocate, anybody who stands up for it, if you just throw in the towel and don't do shit, then what have you done? You've done nothing. You just compartmentalized yourself, and you're just another vapor in the space. So, what's Yoda saying, John? Do you remember what Yoda? There is no try.
I was too busy dating to have watched Star Wars.
There is no try, only do. Is that his comment?
I have no idea.
Someone here in the group, Brian Power in the group. AVM has launched a new call to action tool. I have to go check that out. Please. Okay. All right. I'll do that. I'll screenshot that comment. But to that end, that's my whole point. My point is that there is no try, only do. And the thing is, if you don't do something, then you've really done nothing, right? You don't get to save something by just hoping for it to stick around, you know? You got to actually be proactive. So even if you feel like you're pissing in the wind, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Just sign that petition, send that letter, make that phone call. Do it anyway.
Right. Hey, everybody that does want to email him, I just put the link in the chat there, and there right under the name, you'll see share, tweet, Limkin, his email. So, and I checked the email. It is listed as FDA
.org.
Yeah.
.gov.
Yeah. A commissioner too. It says that in there. So it will take you to his email. I wanted to make sure it was an actual email for him.
So anyway, moving on. I did not know this, and maybe people don't give a rat's ass if they do know this information. But if this passes in Sweden, Sweden will then mark the 8th European country to prohibit flavors. Right. The other ones will be Estonia, Finland. I didn't know any of this shit. Hungary, Ukraine, Denmark, Lithuania, and the Netherlands. So that whole little Scandinavian nook.
Yeah.
So
heavy smokers too in that area too.
But they're not getting rid of that, John.
No, of course not.
They're not going to get rid of it. Well, they say the menthol cigarettes, but the majority of the people that I know in those countries, they don't smoke menthol cigarettes anyway. They just smoke their Marlboro Red equivalents.
I'm willing to bet that a majority of them are non-filtered smokers as well.
Not true. A lot of them actually roll their own. They have the little filters in a bag, and then they have the paper, and they have the tobacco, and they just make their own. So I've traveled over there several times, and that's how I experienced it with them. All right, so let's move on. So anyway, if you know anybody in Sweden, let them know their days could very well be numbered. But that's that. So then let's talk about maybe just a tad bit of good news, right? There's always got to be one thing. So anybody buy e-liquid from Bantam Vape? Bantam, I feel like I've seen their bottles before. I did go to their website and look at their flavor options and their selection, and I do recognize the labels. Yeah. But I don't think I've ever bought anything from Bantam Vape, but they have just now received their shipping exemption from USPS. So when we talked about another company who got theirs not that long ago, and that would have marked the second company that got it. But what this does is they followed the process and filed the paperwork and got the exemption through the United States Postal Service, which allows these companies to now use the Postal Service to be able to ship their products to vendors and other wholesale distributors that sell those products. So they are now legally allowed to ship through the post office to their other distributors, which is kind of like a big thing. It just means that big. Yeah, so it means that when you go to those vape shops and stuff like that, you'll still be able to buy their products, that they won't have to use alternative methods to try to get their products to this place. So Bantam Vape LLC, a provider of high-quality science-based e-liquid products, has been granted an exemption to ship its products to select vape retailers and distributors across the U.S. The USPS decision comes in response to Bantam's application for a business purposes exemption under the PACT Act. The Bantam spokesperson Anthony Dillon stated that utilizing USPS as an alternative shipping channel provides our B2B or business-to-business customers with increased purchase order flexibility and decreased shipping timelines and cost. Well, right, because USPS is a lot cheaper to ship than some of the alternatives like FedEx, UPS, who won't carry any of that shit to begin with, or whatever systems and mechanism they have to use. I was going to show their website. I'm not gonna. They're from North Carolina. You can look them up. I think I think it even says in the article, bantamvape.com.
Yeah. Click on who owns that company. It'll surprise you, Tim, when you go back to look to see who.
All right, well, let's go now. Now John's piqued my curiosity.
Well, I did. That's the first thing I always do when a company gets past this process. And what I always do, and it's a good idea if you want to do it as well, but you can go to their website, scroll all the way down to the bottom.
But I wanted to point out that this looked really good. This Mahalo mango. They don't have it for sale on the website.
But if you go all the way to the bottom, you can see who owns the company. So when you go
under the what?
Right. Oh, I'm sorry, you're on their page. Go all the way to the bottom there and see where it says Bantam is a registered trademark of
12 state brands.
And highlight that, and then click on and search, and you will see who owns that company. And you will be surprised. I always do that with any product that I buy. When I see a company that gets through certain...
What am I missing? Who owns them?
They are let's see here where I lost it now, is a business incorporated with Washington State Secretary of State. And then you can go in through the whole thing. There's an Open Government USA hospitality. What am I see? Where it's a business corporation registered with. It's a company that's already registered with the Washington State Secretary of State. The business incorporated.
Yeah, but what does that mean to any of us?
No, I'm just saying that's what I do when I see a company that gets through so simple. I always want to see who they're tied with and see if they have any ties with any government agencies, pharmaceutical company, tobacco companies, stuff like that. That's why I always try to figure out why they got through and how they got through.
Well, but according to them, they just filed the paperwork with the United States Postal Service. Now, if they had any influence from outside people going in to try to push the ruling faster, maybe so, but it doesn't sound like they had to go through some significant channel of government in order to get their approval. Yeah. As long as they meet specific requirements that were set forth by the PACT Act, I don't see how you could deny anybody the ability to use the B2B, ship to other businesses using the. I mean, that's how cigarettes work. The cigarette trucks don't pull up with boxes full of cartons of. I mean, you have cigarette distributors, but they have to get that shit. Yeah, he's back. He's working. He just keeps flexing in and out. All right, let's move on to your advocacy stuff. All right, I got one advocacy thing, and we've talked about this in the past weeks. All right, Alaska is trying to pass a vapor tax. If you know anybody who lives in Alaska, I don't know too many people that live in Alaska. The only people I know that live in Alaska are on TV. Like, why the fuck would you want to live in Alaska?
Nothing against anyone from Alaska watching the show right now.
I want to ice fish and hunt turducken. Or whatever those stupid birds are that they friggin' like to eat.
How many months do they go without sunlight as well, Tim?
I don't care. Like, that's a personal choice, and good luck to you. All right, so Alaska's trying to pass a House Bill 110, which would enforce a 75% wholesale tax on e-liquids, devices, and components. The whole kit and caboodle. Basically going to make vaping more expensive than smoking. Now, as we all know, Alaska kind of has its own issues with substance abuse and things of that nature. You know, if people were going to have a healthier option, wouldn't you want them to be able to access vaping? But no, they're going to want to enact a 75% wholesale tax. Now, they had a meeting today, and I know this is a little bit behind. March 9th at 1:30 p.m., the House Finance Committee was going to a hearing on this whole thing. I think it's worthy, if you know anybody in Alaska that wants to fight for the right to vape, to let them know about this. You could have apparently testified telephonically. I'm sure it's probably beyond that, but hopefully they still have an open commentary period and people can use that. Yes. But it's just unfortunate, right? I mean, these are other ways that they're just going to try to tax you out of vaping. They're going to try to make it so expensive that you're just not interested anymore. Keep cigarettes in people's hands. Yeah. So, but that's your hot topic for advocacy. So if you know anybody that lives in Alaska, have any friends, some fellow vapors that you talk with in groups, and they weren't paying attention, remind them that they might want to go take a look at this and see what's going on, because they could show up tomorrow and find out
they have
that
like the smallest population.
John, you're muted, buddy.
Oh, am I? That's weird.
I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you talking.
Hold on. That's weird.
Testing, on the wrong mic or something. I'm not sure.
No, I should be working.
He's doing his testing. Yeah, can't hear you, man. So I don't know what to do for you. So anyway, I can't fix you.
I think you can't hear me. I think your mic is. I can. Yeah, everyone. Everybody.
Is it me? Oh, it's me. It's probably me.
It's you. You numbnut. I was like, dude, it's working. I can hear myself. It's you. Now I can't hear you. Welcome to the amazing podcast. Tim, can't hear you. Can't hear you.
All right. Now you all right. So the way that it works is, for some stupid reason, this microphone, my headphones are USB plugged in the back. It cuts out every now and again. I can hear myself. Everybody else can hear me, but I can't hear anybody else. Then I start to realize that I can't hear anybody else. Then I unplug it, plug it back in. Now I can hear everybody else, but it mutes me.
Yeah.
And I forget about that too. So.
That's okay. We got to figure it out. I was just saying, I think Alaska, isn't that like the smallest population per capita? Isn't it like they don't have like.
Well, they're all. I mean, it's a huge fucking state that's frozen all the time, and everyone's spread out in these small villages.
Yeah.
Fuck, the cops have to fly to the next village in order to go arrest somebody. So it's very strange, but it's just it's just unfortunate that they want to enact this 75% wholesale tax on vaping products, because they're just going to make people stay smoking up there, because people are going to be like, they don't make a lot of money in Alaska, folks.
No, I was just going to look up what the average person makes a year.
Most of them are drunk and drug addicted and don't work anyway.
We now officially know the state that Tim does not want to ever visit or be part of, Alaska.
Well, for me, you already had me at frozen. I'm not fucking going. I'm not, dude. You can't make me go. Sorry. And I'm sure it's beautiful in the summer if there is one there, but
I was population of Alaska. There are 731 people there, Tim.
That's the total population of Alaska,
731,545 people as of 2019.
What can you tell us the square mileage of Alaska, John?
The square mileage. All right, hold on.
Yeah, just look up Alaska square miles.
I'm on their thingy. What a thingy. I like that. I can't see where it's big, but yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
As fast as you can find who owns a vape company.
Yeah.
You can. Hold on. Alaska.
I'm on their census page is what I'm
here.
on.
No. Just Google Alaska square miles. They are 663,000 square miles with a total population of less than 1 million people. Okay. I was Googling other places. You can look up New York City. New York City is 507 square miles. New York, sorry. New York, yes. New York City is 507 square miles.
Yeah.
Almost like 8 million people live in New York City.
Yeah.
And 500 square miles.
Yeah,
This is 663,000
Yeah.
square miles, and they have less than 1 million.
Yeah, per capita income in the past 12 months is 36,000.
How much?
$36,786.
Okay, so they don't make a lot of money,
They
right?
don't make a lot of money.
Right. So I don't know what a pack of cigarettes costs in Alaska, but if you're going to tax the shit out of vaping up there, that's unfortunate because you're gonna push people out of being able to afford it. It's not even going to be a situation where they have to they're just got to pick the lesser of two evils when it comes to their piggy bank.
Yeah. It says person in poverty percentage is 9.6%. So 9.6% of that 700 and whatever thousand are in poverty.
And they have a massive issue with substance abuse up there.
Yep. Well, Tim, it's been a great show. We've had some technical issues. I have no idea what the hell went on with that. It was,
but we made it. We made it.
We made it
to the other side.
We made it through. Again, happy, what we didn't mention, I forgot to mention it. It was yesterday, but happy International Women's Day. I knew the women that are out there. Thank you. I saw a funny joke the other day. I was watching before we head on. It's the new guy that does the late night talk show. He's from Britain, but he asked one of the ladies if she was celebrating International Women's Day, and she said she is. And he asked her where she was from, and she said the U.S. He goes, well, you can't celebrate International Women's Day because you're not international. And I thought that was funny. Come on, that's funny.
Mr. QTube, first name Fa. Hey Fa. I don't know. You know what? You talk to Daniel right below your comment. He's about the only one I would know who's MacGyver enough to go to Walmart and buy the stuff to make e-liquid without nicotine in it.
Ooh.
Items
you can buy at Walmart. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you need PG, you need VG. Yeah, I mean, and then beyond that, it's flavoring and nicotine, right? Those are your two other components.
I mean, I never looked on their website. I mean, I know you can purchase stuff through their warehouse, but I'm assuming you can't walk into a regular Walmart and buy PG and VG. I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever seen it in any of the aisles, but I'm sure you can order it maybe through your warehouse. But again, I mean, eventually, if things go the way they are, you're going to have a license. And then, how many DIYers are actually going to purchase a nicotine license and can afford it?
But see, that to me, without trying to drag the show out anymore, I'm saying like that'll be the next stuff that they go after.
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, now that we were regulating all the nicotine, now let's go heavily regulate everything that it takes to make it otherwise.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Don't disclose all that information, Daniel. Maybe we'll have you on. You could explain that. I don't know. We don't know. Me and Tim don't know, so we can't share that information with you unless we researched it. But we'll research it. We'll look into it. Eventually, we're going to have to. The way things are going. Tim, anything else you want to throw out there?
No. I think I covered cold sucks, didn't I? I covered that.
You covered it. You covered it like a blanket.
Yes, I did.
You covered it. Again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Like and share this video. We'll see everybody next week. And we should have our crew back. Everybody should be back.
And we're still looking for somebody. We're looking for a fourth.
Yeah, we're looking for a fourth. It's still out there. It's right there, guys. You email. I know we have some strict regulations on what we're looking for, but again, we could play a little bit with video. We just can't play around with audio. You've seen what happens when you have bad audio on this show. So hit us up with an email if you're interested. We want passionate people we want passionate people about advocacy, and we want at least somebody that's been involved in the industry or community for some time. So. That's about it, and we will see everybody next week, and we are out of here. Peace. See you, Tim.
Peace.
Thank you as always.
Yep.
Peace out.
Later.